The lateral tubing walk is probably one of the best exercises for correcting faulty hip abduction. That's where the leg goes out to the side. Most commonly, this is associated with when either performing lunges or squats, the knees going to the midline and the feet are collapsing. Now, this exercise must be done very specifically, and I'm going to show you how to set this up properly. So what we want to do is place the tubing around the ankles. So there are very specific reasons why we would put the tubing around the ankles versus the knees, but for this particular exercise, we're going to go around the ankles. So the way we want to set this up is that so we're standing so that the tubing is under tension when the feet are approximately 12 inches apart, which is the width of a ruler. Now, when we perform the drill, we don't want the feet to come any closer than 12 inches because that helps us maintain the tension on the working muscles. Additionally, what we want to make sure of is that the feet are going completely straight ahead. Most of us have imbalances in which we tend to turn the feet out as we get tired, and we don't want to be performing the exercise in a duck walk type of position. So in order to correct the muscles that we want to address, we've got to keep the feet straight ahead. Now, additionally, what we want to do is we want to lift our feet slightly outward so we're lifting up our arches. Again, most of us have overpronation, so that allows our feet to flatten and our knees to turn in, which is defeating the purpose of the exercise. So we want to overcorrect by lifting the arches so our weight's on the outside part of the feet. Now, when we move up the chain, we want to make sure that our knees are pretty much straight. They can be slightly bent, which is okay. And the main correction that we have to be aware of is what the pelvis is doing. Now, keep in mind that faulty hip abduction is when we lift the leg out to the side and either we're hiking the hip up and not using the glute to do the job, or when we lift, our hips go into flexion, so we lift our leg in front of the body. So if we perform the drill in this position and then we abduct the leg, we're simply going to be increasing that imbalance. So what we want to do is to learn how to extend or to abduct the hip when the hip is in the neutral position, if not slightly extended. So what this means is we have to perform a posterior pelvic tilt, that's tucking the tail, so to speak, so that we get the hip joints into extension when we perform the walk. And then we'll get to the right muscles. So, recap, we have feet straight ahead, arches, right? So leaning slightly outward to the side of the feet, knees are just soft if not locked out. We have the pelvis posteriorly tilted, and if you want to, you can keep your butt muscles squeezed throughout the entire drill. It's challenging to do while stopping your feet from turning out. So you may not be able to give 100% squeeze, but let's say, for example, 70 or 80%. So then, less important, but we do want to be aware of it, is what the upper body posture is doing. We don't want to completely slouch and hike our shoulders as we fatigue. So we want to make sure that we're in a relaxed upright posture, but focus on what the pelvis is doing first and foremost. If that causes a little bit of slouching, then we don't have to worry about it too much. Now, to perform the drill, what we're going to do is we're going to step laterally while maintaining those pieces about 2 inches with one foot, maintaining that foot going straight ahead, and then trailing with the other leg in that same distance so that our feet never really get any closer than about 12 inches. So step and follow through, step and follow through, and notice that tendency for those feet to want to start turning out. So we always have to be mindful of correcting that. Step, and stop for a second. The other thing that I want to make sure that you understand is where we're moving from is just the hip. We want hip abduction. Now, a cheat is, if the gluteals are particularly weak, is to hike the hips or to move the body side to side as we're walking. Okay, this is an initial compensation that we see very often when we first start doing the exercise, and we try and break that habit as quickly as possible. So we want to keep the shoulders and the hips parallel to the ground, and the only thing that's moving is the leg. So we want to go ahead and step, and note his hips. They're not going up and down. His body's not bobbing. Okay, step and slide, step and slide, and one more, and slide. And that's perfect form. So what we're looking for is keeping the body into that ideal postural alignment, but most important, that posterior pelvic tilt, lifting the arches and keeping those feet straight ahead so that we're causing those gluteal muscles to do their job when the hips are in the neutral or slightly extended position. And that is the lateral tubing walk.